Hey, Gigi.
Nice. Good job, Fritz. Hello.
Hi.
Hi, Gigi. Hi,
I
Allison.
think my camera's not working again. Oh, no, there it is.
No, there it
Are you
is.
still in your office from this morning?
No, I went down and did laundry and picked up the trash cans from the street and did a little
Good.
walk, but I'm way behind in my steps this week. Only 1,800. But Lynn and I work till like, I forget. And I still have stuff I need to complete, but I wanted to join you.
Sure.
And Grace went to a, what's it called? A metaphysical store?
It was a crystal shop called Sacred Crystals.
Sacred Crystals. So
And
she
I
was
got
sharing
some stuff.
what she got from her crystals shop. There's one about a singer's stone called
Carnelian.
Carnelian.
Cornelian's also for this.
For money.
Mm.
And it says humor. So there was a lot of good stuff that she was sharing about it.
Success, passion, creativity, humor, confidence.
Is,
I wrote little notes on
is
it.
clarity in there?
I have a moldavite ring, which I really
Look at
like.
these, all these gems she got.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm wearing my little carnelian bracelet.
Okay.
Nice.
We got business to
I
deal with.
know. I'll let
Love
you
you, mean
go.
it.
Love you too.
Cornelian is part of our business.
I like it. I didn't know
Mm.
anything about it, so she went there on her own. That's all new to me. I guess I never had that chance to get stoned.
Ho, ho, ho.
How are you,
Always.
Beth? Yeah, I'm always stoned.
Um,
Oh, are we keeping you up, Allison?
no, I wasn't yawning. Sorry.
Oh, I thought you were like, ugh, this is boring.
No. I was trying to think what today is. So today is yes and. Um,
Mhm. That's conceiving. Yes, and.
Conceding. I haven't heard you use that word before.
It's
Mm.
introduced. It's in conceive, believe, achieve.
Oh, I thought you said concede, like I concede the point.
Conceive.
Conception, concede.
Mhm. So that that spark, that germination.
Did you realize that conceive, believe, achieve is CBA? It's the ABC backwards.
Mhm.
And you begin with the end in mind.
Mhm.
I'm just thinking about believe. And everything that goes into belief. Because belief is often, well, I suppose everything has got a plus and a minus to it, right? It's a good thing to have belief, and it can be a limiting thing.
Mhm. And I think like for this, it'd be look at like, what if it's not there?
Mm. Good point. I don't think we can operate without it, right?
We can try. Like what comes to mind, like, affirmations are one way of that. Tell myself this, yet the underlying, the iceberg under the water, the unconscious
Yeah,
says
that's,
the negative charge to that statement.
yeah,
So there's your charge with it. And so that's where I believe that charge like shows up always there, but it's like in that belief is what it's really telling us.
that the charge shows up in the belief itself.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. Right. So we just go back again to awareness, right?
Mhm.
So fundamental.
That's why I find it's always a place to start.
Awareness. I think it's the only place to start
And
effectively.
then you start, then you can go somewhere else, go somewhere else, go somewhere else. And then it's like, oh, well, what do I then come back to? Oh, well, that.
Hmm. Hmm. Mm.
So that's kind of where that is today.
So without belief, where is the creating? Where is the flow?
Hmm.
My camera's not working. So I'll let it go. I'll go with the flow.
Go with the flow for now. um, so Jenny, when you asked that question, were you also referring then to where's the action?
Yeah, we had that conversation. I guess I'm getting some resistance to the word action because being precedes action. And I guess it's a trigger for me because of my pattern with my husband. He's always acting and he doesn't stop to be, so it's just how you perceive that word. The feedback he gets is you're working all the time. You don't ever have fun. Even with his coworkers, he's just constantly focused on getting things done. So that action doesn't mean the same thing to everyone. And to him, you can sit here and talk all day. He needs me to do it. The Jedi thing. So there's power in being. I'm going to switch to my phone because I think my computer is going to die on me. So I'll be right back.
Okay.
Hopefully it'll switch. If not, I'll log out. It won't let me join on my phone. So my Zoom isn't responding. So I'll sign out, come back in.
Well, I think it comes to, like in that example, comes to the starting position again. Be, do, have, admit you in. And it's like I hear that example, and what I offer in that is that the being's always there.
Mm.
Like that is a way of, that being is what's driving the action.
Yeah.
Unaware still.
Yeah.
So in the unawareness is there's no space, there's no conception, there's no other way than just one way to do it.
Mm.
And that is a belief. And a
Mm.
belief is being a belief.
Mm.
Hmm.
And it's that, oh, that's what it is also, right? Belief is identity.
Mhm.
Mm. I guess where it always, why I always kind of stop with belief is that in yoga we hear a lot about the difference between the mystic path and religion. And in the mystic path, it's about experience. It's not about belief.
Hmm.
And it is an important, but it's a very subtle distinction.
Mm.
It's very, very, very subtle.
And it's and related, like it to me, it
Yeah.
comes down to it's like what's important, what's the value, because that's what's the values, not the worth, but the values. It's like, yeah, because I believe they would argue that it's all about hard work.
You mean if we go back to Ginny's example?
Mhm.
I mean, I think in the mystic path, there's definitely effort, huge amount of effort. And it's not about being comfortable at all. The path is, in my words, terrifying.
Yep.
Bob Proctor called that the terror barrier. And that's how we
Yeah.
expand and grow, by stepping outside of what's comfortable. But our default is to stay in the
And
status
what's
quo.
comfortable.
Mhm.
Yeah. What feels
Mhm.
supported enough, right?
Mhm.
Familiar, the
Mhm.
right answer, what to do. All of those are, so just even acting is avoiding something.
Yeah. I mean, I think even, Jenny, when we're doing what we're doing, even with that, we come up with these formulas of, well, if you do this, then you'll be okay. And likewise in the writing. Um,
Hmm.
and I'm always thinking about, for some people they'll get there, for other people they won't get there. They'll get somewhere else, which is valuable, but it's not what they're expecting.
So what's the difference between effort and going with the flow? So the example is you're in the canoe and you're going against the tide and you're working hard and hard and hard and hard. And then you just turn the boat, let the flow, turn the boat around and just go with the flow. And the analogy is that's how life is. The more we fight it, the more we resist it, the more effort and struggle, and we're not really enjoying the journey. We're fighting it.
Sure, but for what I catch in that is this. Everybody presumes that when you go with the flow, you're not going to hit any rapids or fall down a waterfall. You're
Mm.
still on a river.
So the ride can be bumpy, but it's your orientation to it. You're if
You
you're
embrace it.
fighting it,
Yeah,
if you're trying to row against it and you're fighting it,
yeah.
you're not making it any easier. You're making it harder.
Exactly, because and you're wasting energy, right? Because inevitably you're not going to win against nature. But effort, it takes effort to embrace a house fire or any kind of disaster
Bump in
that
the
happens.
road. Yeah.
Well, it's more than, I don't think it's only a bump in the road. Right?
Okay. Yeah. Challenging experience would be how you perceive it. If in the,
Yeah,
and
but it is how you perceive it, and I agree with you totally about that. But it is also another level of stuff that happens. And I think it's too easy sometimes for people to say, well, just go with the flow. Going with the flow, like I said, you go with nature, yeah, and nature can rip you apart at times. You be homeless in the street. It's not easy.
Mhm.
And I think it's important. I feel it's important for me and my way of conceptualizing things. It's important for me to realize that. So if I go back to this analogy, then in terms of what I value about the mystic path, is that I guess for me it really does follow the experience of nature as opposed to the belief about what a God is. I've actually never been able to quite put it together like that, but that's how it is for me. And the experience of meditation follows nature because you're going into the body. And when you sit still with the body, as you know, like when you do, like, let me think of what kind of process you can be doing recode, or if you're doing the AST, your body will throw up generations of trauma if you do it for long enough. And to keep yourself steady in that is a huge challenge. But at the same time, it's going with it, it's not resisting it. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
And I think there needs to be acknowledgement of almost of the dark side of going with the flow. You meet your shadow. It's not easy. It's not fun in that moment. Is it a better way to go? For sure. No doubt.
It's almost like the truth of what we're avoiding.
Yeah.
It's like that is the experience that we may be avoiding because of the perception or the story or the default,
Yeah.
the belief.
Yeah. I mean, it's so just as we're talking now, I just my mind just goes and connects to everything, and even to what you were referring to earlier, Ginny, in terms of how some people will get so frustrated because they're the ones that are in their perception doing all the doing. And it could be argued that to sit like we sit and talk about all this stuff instead of going out and doing things is useless, but you need both. You need action and you need reflection. And they both give you the experience. And then opportunity for more awareness, I guess, right? I mean, Jesse, you often say that thing about that you can't know where somebody is going to go unless you can only take them as far as what you have been. They can go further, but you can only take them as far as you have been.
Yep. And like with the two disadvantages is one that one way has worked for a long time.
Yeah.
That model of do is the great rise of what we're able to experience today. Designed, structured in. Doesn't mean it continues.
Yeah, we had to learn the lessons of the God of productivity.
And it was, so it's like, I'm going to do so that I achieve X. Then I'll be Y. I'll do to have to be.
Mm. Mm.
We got to start somewhere. So if we assume we're starting in the doing, well, why are we doing that?
Yeah, but that question very seldom gets asked.
Why? Because there's one way to do it.
Mm.
Now, then that one way to do it was, well, did it work in the past and will it work in the future?
And maybe even what about it worked in the past, right? And how applicable will that be in the future? What is there to take into the future?
I can speak from my perspective, that all that produced was not enough and emptiness.
Mm.
I don't think that works going forward in that structure.
So I heard three things: do, to have, to be. And it doesn't really work in reverse. Be, to have, to do. you just have to be to have. The being and the doing start to become one.
Mm.
So
And
then
they
it's
are
like,
if we're unaware. Yep.
so you, in the current structure, you're doing to be, and in the new structure, you're being to have.
Mm.
And then we're removing one in that sense.
Mm,
You're saying, oh, one can't be in there. And it's like, well, I really think both of them do. Why? Well, one for me is a thought, it's a conception, it's an idea, and the other is a feeling.
Mm. Mm.
well, and that's the mind, body, soul, or spirit, or whatever. So you conceive it in your head, you hold it in your heart, and you have it in your hand.
Yeah, that way. That is the only way the action happens.
Mm. Say that again.
I said, I think that's the only way the action happens. There's enough energy in the feeling of it to be able to do it.
In the experience of it.
Yep. The thought, the feeling, and that feeling and doing, or it's like the thought and the feeling. And when it's aligned, it's like then the action's there. Now you can force the action into it too.
Yeah, you can. Mm.
I mean, because you can do it grudgingly, or you can do it joyfully. You can do it hard work, or you can do it easy.
Mm.
I heard the quote, it's music happens between the notes.
Mm.
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 There is nothing but what's in between.
Yeah. Bruce often complains if there's not enough space in a piece of music. So interesting.
It's all about the bass, not the treble.
No, I said if there's not enough space, Jenny, not bass, space.
It's all about the space.
And that's where the resonance is, eh? It's everything.
It's the tension.
Yeah, I was just thinking there's that sweet spot. Because if you go too far, there's not enough resonance. And if you go too close, there's no space for it. Mm.
You keep playing the same note over and over again.
Mm.
That is like do, 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 do.
Mm.
And society works that way from an assembly line, it works that way.
Mm.
which is way behind, which will be replaced with this AI.
Yes. Which can be replaced by AI.
Will.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. There's no doubt about that.
Otherwise, you'll make up some story why it won't be, which will be true until it isn't.
Yeah.
But it'll feel good until then.
Yep. And that, yeah, that's where feeling is also very tricky.
Because it's the story that feels safe.
Mhm.
And the belief that
And the belief, exactly.
and that's the whole thing, is that it doesn't allow you to see the whole thing. You're
That's
only
right.
seeing the parts of
Parts of
things
yeah.
from the past.
That's why story is history.
And conceive and could and knowing like, oh, what is that for? And I think certain ages it's not going to matter. I don't know what the cutoff is though.
Mm.
As fast as things are changing.
Probably.
I mean, the reports I'm reading now is that the companies that adapt to AI are going to be 200, 300, 400% more productive.
That's a lot.
I mean, that's in, what's that, 6 months?
That's unbelievable.
That's what they're claiming already. I mean, anyone that
Yeah.
isn't adapting it is going to be like, well, if I'm not putting that in, then I'm behind. I mean, and I don't think it's the right thing to do by any means. I would say foster your employees well ahead of adapting AI.
Mm.
But it's a short story again. It's a short-sightedness.
Yeah.
I would take a human's creativity over any of these models.
Exactly.
And that just accelerates the reason for that. Now, it doesn't change the fact that people that are going to resist that on going to do doesn't change that they will be wiped out.
Mm.
That's rowing against the tsunami.
Mm-hmm.
Hate to say it, but I hope I don't want to be right.
Mm. It's one of those times that you don't want that.
And I don't want to have to say, told you so.
Mm-mm. Not with this.
Because it's not going to matter anyway. From a right or wrong point of view, it's just going to be miserable.
Mm.
So do you want to be right or do you want to be happy?
Or kind,
Connected. It's like connected or competing.
Mm.
And it'll turn out that they'll figure out that it won't be as positively as they think it will be, but of course there'll be momentum's already in play.
Yeah. And the train smashers will just get shoved under the carpet.
structures. Yeah.
Mm.
So it's like it. When does it matter? And it just continues to show up, the timing. You know, am I focused on looking backwards and replaying that, or am I focused on what's coming into the future and the opportunities in that? Am I aware of my own avoiding, distracting, taking personally, attaching to my identities, that are just all based on the past?
Yeah. And that definitely is the most important. It, I mean, it's your starting point. If you don't have that in place, you're going to get knocked over anyhow. And not only do you get knocked over, but that means that there's nothing for others to come to. So if you can anchor in yourself and into the ground, basically, you've got a field around you that is of service to others.
Before it's needed. Why? I have no idea.
So I sometimes think about it just in terms of that's always been life's process, is that some things are created ahead. And those things that are created ahead get transformed for more. So it's like you just have these kind of vortexes, I guess, of energy, not necessarily a vortex. So you just have these energy fields that are a little bit ahead. And then when the others catch up to that, something new gets formed. And then that's ahead for the next thing.
Yep.
I mean, to the extent where they then just completely, what was it so transformed you can hardly recognize it. Life's creative process and everything that's involved in it is so vast. And you only really can get to know it through your experience. And then just keep on having that awareness that your experience is only a part of it. So you have to keep on keeping it open for more information, which you then choose. You choose from what works to take you further and what's going to hold you back. But the impetus, I think if you have clarity on what your impetus is, and if you have clarity on what your genius is, that gives you direction for your impetus. And you can never go wrong with that, ever. It'll always create something of value. I think that's the issue, right?
And going against it works too.
Okay. Oh, geez. Going against it. Pushing against it. It does work. What does it produce? It produces a creation, but it might not be what you want.
I'll always create.
Yeah. Yeah. The difference is whether it's what you want or not.
Mhm. And that
So then you,
worked in a slow changing environment. That worked.
mm, mm.
An economy, in a structure, in a societal structure that took generations to change worked.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're experiencing the third generation of it. Like my kids are probably the fourth.
That's right.
How long can it hold on?
Yeah, I was just going to say, Kaylis is way ahead of your kids, and her generation, half of them do, but half of them don't. They don't buy it.
Well, I think it's, well, I can only speak for me is to say, I know that ain't going to work. I've been chasing it. I've been in that and I know it's not going to work. Right. And it's like, I think you guys see it too. And that's part of that's part of what us being ahead of the game.
Hmm.
That's the game we're changing.
Hmm.
That's the game we're leading. Where the hell are we going?
So the simple question to ask, Jenny, to go back to your initial example of do. And the simple question is, yes, and how does that work for you? What does that bring you in the do? And there'll be a lot of evidence. And then the final question would be, and how happy are you able to be with all of this?
Or they may, like, the confronting one is why.
Why what?
Do.
Oh,
Why?
why follow that model?
I have to do here. Just go act and say why. Oh,
I don't know.
Yeah.
Do sounds like do to me.
Yeah. But I mean, it's a valid experience for people. Right?
mhm.
So,
And why
so
is the challenge, like right at the challenge, because it hasn't been examined. It is unaware. It's just that's what I do. That's what I told. How it is.
yeah, but then even when they can give evidence, then you ask them again, and what does that do for you?
Yep.
Right?
And that, I think
What does
Chris
that
is,
give you?
when I have be achieve, when I have, then I'll be. So it's going after some material-ish and the feeling. So it's the comparison of the two. It's that feeling. And then then it falls apart.
Hmm.
The structure unwinds at that point, but not until it's revealed. Like, oh, so often, and that's what the younger generations are seeing. It's like, that doesn't work.
That's right.
When I get that job, when I get that promotion, when I have that money, when I have that house, when I have that, when I have that, when I have that, then I'll be. It's so thick in our society, Western society,
Which is so global now.
industrialized.
Yeah. It's interesting. I was thinking the other day, in Joburg, I had a Chinese expat he was a real Renaissance guy, but I went to him for Tai Chi. And when he was a young guy, in his very early teens, he went and lived on a riverboat with his teacher, and they had to be that they had to live there. They couldn't come on land. And the reason for that is that if anybody caught his teacher teaching, he'd be thrown in jail. It was during the Cultural Revolution. There was nothing of that was allowed at all. And that knowledge it's like, it goes right back to the beginning of yoga as well. It's almost 5,000 years old. And there was such fear about what that knowledge was that they had to lock it up like that.
Eliminate,
Yeah,
wipe it out, and replace it.
yeah. And I mean, that cycle has been repeated over and over and over and over again.
Yeah, it's keep the people sheeple. Don't teach them their genius. Don't teach them their intuition. And if you listen to Abraham, and what Jerry Hicks, before he passed, he got a copy of Napoleon Hill's unedited manuscript. And what was edited out was the stuff about vibration. It isn't effort, it isn't doing, it's the law of attraction. The reason it sucks is because if you're vibrating at the lower levels, not from joy, not from happy, you keep attracting that. And if you look at what's in the media, what gets focused on gets the energy. And so then people go, see, I can prove it. See all this bad stuff?
Self-fulfilling prophecies.
Mm-hmm. And so a really powerful example was Esther had her two grandkids, a boy and a girl. And the boy's energy was in a space where they would go play games and the sister would win every time and he would lose. And he was like, they don't want me to win. Then they went to a concert and she got caught up on stage with the band. He knew all the songs, and then she got back in the audience and they threw 3 t-shirts into the audience and she got one. It was like she kept winning, and he kept losing. And it was really clear where their energy was at the start. It had nothing to do with their worthiness or what they did. It just was where they were vibrating. It's like the proverbial getting up on the wrong side of the bed and stubbing your toe, and then it's all downhill from there in the negative downhill sense.
Mm-hmm.
And we've all had that experience, but to see it that clearly. And in that moment, the grandson, it was not a teachable moment. there's no receptivity there when that energy is in that, we call it monkey mind, mental merry-go-round, whatever. And so our most important job is to feel good.
Well, I think, well, I'd say just to feel.
Hmm.
To allow.
And not attach a story, not
Yeah.
resist.
Yeah. Yeah. We go back to that.
Because I think that's part of the structure is that, oh, you have to feel good all the time.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. So, but I guess the point is you can have the negative spiral or you can have the positive spiral that lifts you.
Yep. Yep.
And the only way to get off that merry-go-round sometimes is to take a nap, to stop the momentum.
That's right. Or to keep doing is what people choose.
Mm-hmm. And or in my case, disengage, which actually is a good strategy. I used to beat myself up for that. And I'm like, no, I don't want to be a part of that because I'm not, by talking, I'm not adding anything to it. Anything
Exactly.
positive.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is, it will determine your direction. That's the starting position is so important. So it's like whatever it is will determine. And then it's like, oh, that was just that moment. I can now choose this moment, which the positive, negative, that's the awareness of it. Not that one is any better than the other because we've just attached whether it's positive and negative to it. We've created it. We've created that point. The observer observing creates the point. And then we live in the space between.
That's right. Yeah. And I was also just thinking as you guys were talking about, Jenny, when you said about feeling good, and what came to mind for me is the quicker and the deeper you can drop into yourself, the wider your space is, the more you're able to contain or tolerate or be with.
And it comes down to, it's like controlling how it has to be or allowing what's possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
And its society is rewarded a certain way.
Yeah.
Our structures are structured in such a way to reward one behavior over the other.
Very much so. Very, very much so. And it brings that other concept in yoga to mind to me about that it's not you that's in the universe only, it's that the universe is within you.
I'm reading Lynn McTaggart's The Bond.
She's amazing. She started something really powerful.
Were you doing a play on that word universe?
Nope.
And uni meaning one verse, one song. But YOU versus UNI. Yeah.
Good catch.
And that's what I'm finding fascinating in the book, in which it's patterns and philosophies that have won out, philosophies that are winning, philosophies that are like, how did we get to where we are? Meaning dividing the whole. We, as like, we've heard it where we break everything down to the smallest components and ignore the whole of it.
Hmm.
She's in the introductions of the book is that's what she's bringing attention to, from Einstein to Charles Darwin, and how all of that has created, rather than where we were as a connected whole, to the individualization of it, divisible parts. And where originally Darwin resisted the idea of the word survival of the fittest, yet it got entangled with Adam Smith's economy.
Oh, yeah. It was a complete bastardization of it. I know. That's where all the competition stuff
Yeah.
comes in. So
Yeah.
it's
And it's like, no, the evolution doesn't take hundreds of thousands of years to happen. They've proven where it's responding to the environment.
Yep.
That is completely different.
different. Yeah. Because it's about the collaborative impact, right? Or the impact of the collaboration, put it that way. Jesse, there's a physicist, I think he's still alive. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, Fridtjof Capra. He wrote, oh God, what was his book called? It might have been called The Sum of the Parts. No,
Heard of that book.
no, it's another one. I wonder if I've still got it. Anyway, it was my first experience at university. Somebody one of the students in our psych class was reading it and offered it up. And his thing was very much like Einstein's in terms of that you're looking at the entire universe. And it was so aligned with the yoga teachings, the mystic yoga teachings about how the universe came, into being. And I think that was the first kind of time that I then started to become aware of, for me, of how narrow Western thought was, as opposed to Eastern, but that a lot of people in the physics field were able to think and see in that way too, much more than in any other field of knowledge, actually, which was really interesting. The other one was in biology. A guy called Gregory Bateson, and he talks. His book I've still got. I pulled it out the other day, and I didn't manage to look at it again. And he talks about systems. That's how systems came into psychology. Looking at family systems, and what their natural propensity is. Yeah, so I mean that stuff. It's interesting how those bodies of knowledge come into an era, and then, but they don't get into the mainstream. Right? They're always along the sidelines. And sometimes I think, at some point I can remember thinking to myself, well, what's the point if they never get into mainstream? And then I and well, if they're not there, the world would be much worse off than what it is. Much worse off.
Hmm.
When people
But that's a belief of mine, right?
and go back to when things aren't working, like it's like we go back to the original to say where was it misinterpreted is always what it comes down to, or what something was missed, or that something else fills the void. That's the damn cycle of it all.
Mm. Mm.
Well, wonderful.
So, yes, and always have to be aware, right? There is something else. And there's more.
My mind is full.
Mine too.
Mine too.
Thank you guys.
Thanks
Thanks for
so much.
sharing with me.
You
Thanks
Have a
for
great
too,
day.
sharing
Jess.
with me.